Good afternoon. I think this is the Retina showcase now, or is this the second Dr. Paul Karpecki Innovation Showcase? I'm not quite sure, but thank you for having me again. I guess it's been 3 years, so thank you to the OIS organizers to actually get this back on track and live again. So I am Jay Cormier, CEO and founder of Eyedaptic, but more importantly, this is Liz Baker. Liz is a world-class Olympic triathlete, I should say a Paralympian. She's a physical therapist, mother of 2, and she's legally blind, okay? This is the first time Liz has ever been able to read the blood pressure cuff in her life. So this is our latest product. The i5 is written up in Forbes, and what I want to tell you about today, not so much is the commercial side, but some of our latest clinical studies to branch into new indications. So first of all, what are we? I'm not going to go too deep into the technology. We are an augmented reality visual aid driven by AI. We take in the image through the camera. Our proprietary algorithms process and enhance that image and redisplay it on the displays that sit in front of your eyes. This is open market hardware that we use, so we focus on the software and the adaptive systems. It integrates with the real world, so as opposed to virtual reality, which is immersive and takes away your peripheral vision, this is something that can be worn in a variety of use cases. This is an FDA Class 1 exempt device. We have 8 patents granted. Actually, the 8th was just granted, which is our adaptive machine learning systems for low vision. So we all know how big retina problems are. I'm not going to go into that. Everyone here understands this very well. What I would mention is, again, our initial indication was macular degeneration. We're now moving into diabetic retinopathy. I'm going to share some clinical studies on that. We also have some foundational patents for macular pucker or scarring, which is a distortion of the vision. So what do we do? Again, you can all come up for a demo later, but we are enhancing, we are remapping those images to help that person's peripheral vision that remains mimic and act more like central vision. So just to recap, I think we presented this last time. This was our first clinical study for macular degeneration. This was originally targeted for 2 main endpoints. We were, of course, measuring visual acuity or improvements in visual acuity with Eyedaptic over someone's best corrected visual acuity with their glasses. The second endpoint was also time tasks of daily living, so we wanted to quantify not only if this helps someone see better, but how does this help them function better in the real world. And so we were seeing in that original study over 3 lines of improvements, over a doubling of visual acuity. We targeted people in the 2070 to 2200 range. So you can see there on average 2125 visual acuity, getting them down to about 2060. Since then, we've done further benchmarking with our latest products. We're seeing now almost a quadrupling of visual acuity. So we really target macular degeneration for people between 2070 to 2400, which is a pretty broad swath of AMD. What was even more impressive was the increase in time tasks of daily living, which was 5 times. So real quick on the diabetic side, we're running a similar study. This is partway through now. What we're seeing is we've got about 15 so far, targeting a similar visual acuity range, but of course it is a somewhat younger skewed age range because diabetes can start earlier. So again, I should say 2 main endpoints, again, improvements in visual acuity, but here we said, okay, what else is important for these visually impaired people? It's also contrast sensitivity. So again, not surprisingly, the increases in visual acuity, very similar to our original study, roughly 3 lines of improvement. We measured both distance and far, and that's very important, right? Because this is helping people across a range of use cases and a range of distances. So you can see here an improvement in 3 lines in both distance and near visual acuity. But I think what's just as important, if not more important, is the 50% increase in contrast sensitivity. So this is something that we know is important. We don't always measure it as much, but I know I'm starting to get presbyopia and contrast sensitivity is starting to bug me, and I don't yet have macular degeneration. So anyways, big improvement in contrast as well. And this, again, really covers the use cases. You see Liz here. We talked about her earlier. She's also going to her kids' soccer games. She always went to her kids' soccer games. The problem was she didn't know which kid on the field was hers. Now she does. Of course, Sam down in the bottom going cruising in Cabo. And Chuck, I don't want to say if he won any money at the casino, but if this helps him do what he wants to do, that's great. But I did advise him to stop being a backseat driver and telling his wife how to drive now. So, from a market analogy, this is very much like the hearing aid market, so we priced our visual aids the same. We know the hearing aid market is an $8 billion market. Of course, we talked about efficacy, but this is really all about, as Paul put it, kind of crossing that chasm, coming out of that trough of disillusionment. I've been disillusioned for a few years now in the pandemic. Between augmented reality did take quite a while to get where we wanted it to go, and now we're starting to see the uptake. We're starting to roll this out across optometry practices across the country, and we're seeing the user base grow on a weekly, if not daily basis. So that's fabulous news for all these people that need the help. And just real quick to wrap up with the team, mixture of technology and medicine, but this is for you, Paul. There's twice as many optometrists as MDs on this slide, so I just wanted to point that out. You gave me a lot of material from this morning. So, just to wrap up, we do aim to be the leader in this multi-billion-dollar market. Of course, we are always raising money. We're in the middle of a round now, but what we're doing now is scaling this business. We're getting this out to the optometrists so the optometrists can get it to their patients. We're going to offer, and we are today offering the best solution on the market. We continue to make that more powerful with our software, but the key here is to continue to get that adoption. You got to keep it simple. It can't be complex for these users, and that's where AI comes in. It has to be simple for the eye care providers to dispense. Right now, through the optometry channels, we're seeing greater than 95% retention. So this is fabulous. This is what we always aim for, and of course, we can keep doing this. So with that, I got 1 second left. Thank you all very much for your time, and thanks again for having me.